May 20th, 2025. Over 1,000 employees joined a company-wide video call expecting a normal Tuesday morning update. 30 minutes later, every single one of them had lost their jobs. Builder.ai had just collapsed. A company that 6 months earlier was valued at $1.5 billion now had exactly $5 million locked in frozen bank accounts and $0 everywhere else. Microsoft was owed $30 million, Amazon was owed $85 million, and the FBI had already started asking questions. But here's what makes this story truly wild. Builder.ai claimed to have revolutionary AI that could build apps automatically. Investors believed it was the future of software development. The reality? Most of the work was done by around 700 human engineers in India, who employees jokingly called the AI assistant a guy instead. And yet, some of the smartest investors in the world, Microsoft, Qatar's sovereign wealth fund, the World Bank, poured in over $450 million. The Wall Street Journal exposed the truth about the fake AI back in 2019. A $5 million lawsuit alleged the company kept 2 sets of books that same year, and investors kept writing checks for another $415 million after these warnings went public. So here's the question. How did 700 human engineers pretending to be AI fool Microsoft, Amazon, and $500 million worth of the world's smartest investors for nearly a decade? The man behind it all styled himself Chief Wizard. Sachin Dev Duggal graduated from Imperial College London and claimed he'd built an automatic trading system for Deutsche Bank at age 17. His pitch was beautifully simple: make building software as easy as ordering pizza. The company, originally called Engineer.ai, promised an AI assistant named Natasha that would analyze what you wanted, break it into reusable building blocks, and assemble your custom app in a fraction of normal time and cost. Duggal told audiences the AI could handle 80% of the work autonomously. Fast Company named them the #3 most innovative AI company in 2023. EY crowned Duggal UK Entrepreneur of the Year. By January 2024, he was at Davos rubbing shoulders with the global elite. And the money poured in. Series A in November 2018, $29.5 million from Lakestar and SoftBank. Series B in May 2021, $65.5 million, claiming 230% revenue growth. Series C in March 2022, $100 million led by Insight Partners. Then Microsoft took a strategic stake in May 2023 and integrated Natasha into Microsoft Teams. That wasn't just money, it was the most powerful seal of approval in tech. 2 weeks later came the Series D, $250 million from Qatar Investment Authority. Total valuation, $1.5 billion. They were a unicorn. Total raised over $450 million. But something was off from the beginning. On August 14, 2019, the Wall Street Journal published an investigation. Current and former employees told them most coding was done by humans, not AI. The company's leadership team had no machine learning experts. The technology Duggal claimed was 80% done was, according to a former executive, barely even begun. That executive was Robert Holdheim, the former chief business officer. He'd filed a $5 million wrongful termination lawsuit 7 months before the Journal article. The most explosive claim? Builder.ai maintained 2 sets of books, one with real numbers, one with inflated figures for investors. So what was actually happening? According to investigations by the Pragmatic Engineer and Rest of World, Builder.ai did have a legitimate AI team of about 15 to 30 engineers. But the actual revenue-generating work was done by 500 to 1,000 outsourced engineers through companies in India, Vietnam, Romania, Ukraine, and Poland. Customers would interact with Natasha, a woman's voice behind a pulsing purple dot. She could generate some basic front-end code, but as one former employee said, a lot of the customized work was done by humans. Indian engineers were told to time their communications with UK business hours and avoid Indian English phrases to maintain the illusion. Former employees had a nickname for their AI assistant, a guy instead. The fake AI got headlines, but the financial fraud was what destroyed the company. Builder.ai inflated its revenue by approximately 300% through 3 schemes. First, round-tripping. Bloomberg reported that Builder.ai and an Indian social media company called Verse Innovation billed each other nearly $60 million between 2021 and 2024 for services like app development and AI licensing. Sources said these services were never actually provided. The transactions were just money moving in circles. And here's the kicker. Both companies were backed by Microsoft and Qatar Investment Authority. The same investors had portfolio companies inflating each other's revenue. Second, bogus reseller sales. An internal investigation found potentially bogus sales through resellers in the UAE and Qatar. These contracts accounted for about 40% of 2023 revenue. Investigators couldn't confirm if some resellers even existed or if any actual customers received services. Third, premature revenue recognition. The company booked revenue before payments arrived, sometimes without firm contracts. How did they get away with it? Builder.ai operated without a chief financial officer for 18 months during its most critical period. 18 months with no CFO, while raising hundreds of millions. The result, 2024 revenue reported to investors as $220 million was actually about $50 million. The 2023 figure of $180 million was closer to $45 million. They were telling investors they were a $200 million business when they were barely a $50 million one. By February 2025, the board forced Dougal out as CEO. His replacement, Manpreet Radia, discovered cash reserves had dwindled to just $7 million. He commissioned an investigation. The findings were devastating. Systematic revenue inflation, potentially fictitious sales, a complete house of cards. Ratia tried emergency cost-cutting, but on May 15, 2025, their lender, Viola Credit, declared a covenant default and seized $37 million from Builder.ai's bank accounts. That left $5 million in restricted Indian accounts and $0 in their UK and US banks. 5 days later came that video call. Over 1,000 people learned they'd lost their jobs in 30 minutes. The company filed for bankruptcy across 5 countries. On June 2nd, they filed Chapter 7 liquidation in Delaware, not reorganization, liquidation. They listed over 200 creditors, about $100 million in liabilities, and assets under $10 million. Amazon owed $85 million in unpaid cloud hosting bills. Microsoft owed $30 million. And buried in the creditor list was an Israeli private intelligence firm called Shibumi Strategy, suggesting the company was doing things far beyond ordinary business in those final months. So how did they fool everyone for so long? Days before the bankruptcy, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the office that prosecuted Bernie Madoff and Sam Bankman-Fried, issued subpoenas for Builder.ai's financial statements and customer lists. In August, FBI agents personally served the former CFO with a subpoena at a Dallas airport, demanding communications related to wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy. He's expected to testify before a Manhattan grand jury. But here's the real answer to how they got away with it. They exploited 2 perfect storms. The pre-ChatGPT era, when investors couldn't evaluate vague AI-powered claims, and the post-ChatGPT era, when every investor was terrified of missing the next big AI company. That $250 million Series D round came just months after ChatGPT launched, at peak AI mania. The warning signs were everywhere. The Wall Street Journal expose in 2019. The lawsuit alleging 2 sets of books. No CFO for 18 months. Customer complaints stretching projects from 6 months to 28 months. But Microsoft's investment created a halo effect. If Microsoft trusted them, everyone else figured they'd done the due diligence. And the smoking gun that nobody caught? Microsoft and Qatar Investment Authority both invested in Builder.ai and Verse Innovation. When those two companies were round-tripping $60 million to inflate each other's revenue, their shared investors had a massive blind spot. As for Sachin Dev Dougal, he moved to Dubai in summer 2024 before everything collapsed. And according to Tech Funding News and Business Cloud, he's already launched his next venture, an AI startup called Second Brain focused on what he calls neuro-symbolic AI technology. According to reports, he posted a message to former Builder.ai employees on LinkedIn and gave a podcast interview in early 2026, his first public appearance since leaving the company, where he reflected on lessons learned and spoke about the experience. No major investor has issued a public statement. Qatar Investment Authority, Microsoft, Insight Partners, radio silence, despite losing virtually the entire $450 million invested. Builder.ai is the AI boom's Theranos moment, but it might actually be worse. Theranos' technology just didn't work. Builder.ai also inflated revenue by 300% through round-tripping schemes. It combined technological fraud with massive financial fraud. The crisis CEO who discovered the truth said it best. Builder should be a warning sign for investors, employees, executives. Be careful what you claim you are. At some point, it catches up with you. Builder.ai's collapse is a stark reminder that in AI, substance must match ambition. As Dougal embarks on Second Brain, the hope is that hard-earned lessons will drive greater accountability and transparency. The AI industry needs success stories built on truth, not hype. The future depends on it. If you like such content around tech and business, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, and let me know your thoughts in comment about Builder.ai. Stay tuned.